The world we live in is a mystery to most people alive today. Only very few know the truth about our history, the universe, our existence. Nobody outside of a secret society knows the truth. In order for us to know the truth, we must let go of what we have been brought up to believe, not just throw it out, but use it as a tool to seek the truth. In order to know the truth, you must not be afraid to understand it. To know the truth, you must think logically and look to the facts. You must realize that the truth is being kept hidden. You must realize that there are many different beliefs in this world. You must also realize there are many different perspectives for each and every one of these beliefs. It is completely naive for any individual to believe he or she knows the truth, especially in a world where people work very hard in order to keep the truth from surfacing. You can look towards history, science, or religion to find the truth, but you must realize that they have all been grossly manipulated to keep us in the dark. Not a single person was brought up to believe the truth, nor can you find it through mainstream science or history. Mainstream science and education today is completely distorted by the powers that be. Anyone who goes against the status quo ends up having a hard time finding employment, and if they become a thorn in the backs of the elite, they are taken out. Every textbook, every scientific article, and every scientific innovation is presented to the world with approval of the elite. People that currently have faith or belief in a myth are a force against the truth. Believing in things that do not exist is the worst thing you can do. Religious people want to believe so badly, they will ignore scientific evidence, reason, common sense, and their own better judgment. Religion has perverted the meaning of the word truth. Many things religious people say they believe are not in accord with fact or reality. They are myths, superstitions, hope, not truth. To say it is truth is a lie. The ones that do not know they are lying think they are doing the will of the enemy of their God, Satan, who is defined in the holy books as the great deceiver, the king of all lies. All of today's religions have been created to manipulate the truth and control the human population, and keep them as unthinking, hardworking, law-abiding, tax-paying, God-fearing death slaves.
This is for the record. History is written by the victor. History is filled with liars.
History, as we know it today, has been warped. Everything we learned in school has been completely manipulated, so much it is like it never really happened, but a cover story for the truth. Everything, from what we watch on television, the news, to what we learn in school and the books we buy from publishing companies, even the corporations and banks that control and dictate our governments, politicians, and laws are in complete control of the 13 richest families, known as the Council of 13, who we call the Illuminati. They control everything you watch, everything you read, and all the music you listen to. In the past, unlike today, the elite claimed they had the divine right to rule. They claimed to be direct descendants of the gods. The oldest writings discovered are known as the Sumerian tablets. The Sumerians are one of the first human civilizations to have existed. They knew much of what the rest of the world had to rediscover. It was as if the information they possessed had been given to them. According to the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, an alien species, came to Earth in search for gold, which would be used to save their dying planet. Those who were sent to Earth to retrieve the gold, and did not want to do the work themselves, took their own DNA, and the DNA of many different species native to Earth, in order to genetically engineer a new species they could use as a slave race, to do the work for them. This new species would be less intelligent than the Anunnaki, and much weaker, so they could be easily controlled. This new species is the human race. Because of this, the Anunnaki are known as fallen angels, or demons. What they did to our genome and our species was considered a sin against the universe. In reality, we are all direct descendants of the Anunnaki. Every human being today has reptilian DNA. The only difference between the elite and the rest of humanity is that the elite are descendants of humans, who physically bred with the reptilian race, and have been interbreeding for so long, they have preserved more reptilian DNA in their genome. Throughout history, humanity has been subject to the rule and tyranny of the few rich. In the past, These rulers were known as the emperors, Caesars, kings, and pharaohs. They were the monarchs, those who were in control in our past. They were the elite, who had taken advantage of humanity in the past. All of these families who ruled over our ancestors had always claimed they had the divine right to rule over humanity. They claimed they were direct descendants of the gods, those who engineered humans. Today we would consider them a part of the old world order, but this is extremely misleading. Those who are in charge of today's major industries and corporations are direct descendants of the old rulers, the elite of the old world order, and are today's elite. There is nothing new about this new world order in control today, which is trying to strip us of our right. They have done an amazing job at convincing humanity that we are free, that we have a choice. They created a system of government and social organization they completely control and dictate with their monetary system. It is not our politicians who are in charge, but the elite who put them in charge. The television is a special tool used by the elite to send a message to the public. Everything a politician or a news anchor says is only said if they are allowed to say it. Politicians, news anchors, and Hollywood actors have one thing in common: they are all actors reading a script, being used to influence and distract the public from what's really going on. They are nothing but puppets, masks, actors for the elite. The only job of a politician is to read a script and sign papers to satisfy the public. He has no real power. Here you will see Stephen Harper read from the same script as Australian Prime Minister John Howard. It is about the Iraq War, which was part of an agenda. The agenda was neither left nor right, nor did it play favorites amongst nations. These speeches were written and agreed upon by the globalist controllers, part of the cabal, and then handed to the prime ministers to read to the people of their respective countries. Democracy never entered the picture. We never had a choice. Another thing to remember is that Canada also provided both equipment, command and troops for the Iraq War.
The world judged the Iraqi regime was a dangerous aggressor. In the interests of world peace and regional security, the community of nations required Iraq to surrender its offensive arsenal, its chemical and biological weapons, and abandon its nuclear weapons program. Iraq agreed to comply.
The world judged the Iraqi regime to be a dangerous aggressor. In the interests of world peace and regional security, the community of nations expelled Iraq from Kuwait, required Iraq to surrender its offensive arsenal, its chemical biological weapons, and to abandon its nuclear weapons program. Iraq agreed to comply. Iraq's continued defiance of the community of nations presents a challenge which must be addressed.
Presents a challenge which must be addressed. It is inherently dangerous
to allow a country such as
Iraq to retain weapons of mass destruction, particularly in the light of its past aggressive behaviour.
That's right. If the world community fails to disarm Iraq, we fear that other rogue states will be encouraged to believe that they too can have these weapons, these most deadly of weapons, to systematically defy international resolutions, and that the world will do nothing to stop them. That is the ultimate nightmare, which the world must take decisive and effective steps to prevent.
Possession of chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons by terrorists would constitute a direct, undeniable, and lethal threat including to Canada Australia and its people. The world has tried other means for years, but so far to no avail. We cannot walk away from the threat that Iraq's continued possession of weapons of mass destruction constitutes to its region and to the wider world. In the final analysis, Mr. Speaker, the absolute conviction of the government is that disarming Iraq is necessary for the long-term security of the world and is therefore manifestly in the national interest of Australia.
In the final analysis, disarming Iraq is necessary for the long-term security of the world to the collective interests of our historic allies, and therefore, manifestly, Mr. Speaker, it is in the national interest of this country.
The only job of a news anchor is to read a script. They can only say what they are allowed to say, even down to the local level. Here you can see anchors reporting the exact same story, the exact same way.
In consumer news, economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step.
Well, it's okay. You can admit it if you have bought an item or two or maybe 10 for yourself.
It's okay. You can admit it. You've bought an item or two or 10 for yourself.
It's okay. You can admit it if you bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay. You can admit it if you bought an item or 2 or 10 for yourself.
It's okay. You can admit it if you've bought an item or 2 or 10.
Well, if you filled up your gas tank lately, then you don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are
In consumer
back on
news,
the
economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors.
There is no such thing as a republic or a democracy. There is no such thing as freedom of press on this planet, but an illusion of what we are allowed to see and know. The entire world is nothing but a reality show for us to watch on television. Absolutely nothing an official tells you, whether it is in politics, education, the media, or in any scientific field, is the truth, but only an approved interpretation or statement for events, or statistics. There is so much disinformation and manipulation out there, even for us truth seekers, it is hard to see through the fog. Disinformants have infiltrated every organization we know of, which include religious groups, spiritualism, including New Age, alien theorism, the Truth Movement, alternative media, third-party politicians, and all other forms of truth-seeking conspiracy theorist sources. Sources like Ron Paul, Mark Dice, Jesse Ventura, Alex Jones, Daryl Anka's Basher, RT News, InfoWars, Prison Planet, and other sources we look to are there just to disinform us from the truth, keeping those of us who are more aware of what goes on around us from seeing the absolute truth, and trapping us in a reality where the partial truth we have already discovered is not to be questioned, so that we believe what we have awakened, when in reality we are still partially in the dark. If enough of the public were to wake up, they would most likely want to elect one of these disinformants I have listed. These double agents will only bring a slightly better society, but not the best possible one, and as puppets, we would not be given complete freedom. Civilization will eventually become corrupt again, and many scientific secrets would still be out of our reach, and many secrets of the universe and our reality would still be kept from us. It is important to question everything you learn, and everyone you learn it from. It is possible that I am a disinformant trying to mislead the viewer. Telling you to question me could be seen as a strategy to get the viewer to just trust what I say. My point being, do not let others influence the conclusion you would have come up with using your own common sense. Most of the time, we are told what the conclusion is, while being presented the facts, and we either accept it or deny it. We have never had any rights, we have never had a choice in any major decision that affects the state of the world. There is no plot to take over the world, or to control all governments. They already have, and always had, some control of all nations. It is the degree of control that their goals are centered on. I say degree because no matter how many protests, no matter how many revolutions there have been, we have always been under the control of these bloodline families. Protesting and bringing about a revolution only pushes them back just a little bit. We never gain much, but a generation or two of a little change, with a gradual return of what previously we had previously fought against. The goal they have is to strip us of our rights with our consent. This is where all false flags in public schools as indoctrination come in. With the bombing of the Twin Towers on September 11, they took our right to privacy, which we never had. This event only allowed what they have been doing for decades to be written into law. Their next step is not only to have complete control over humanity, but to depopulate as well. Their goal of sustainable development is clearly shown in Agenda 21, an official United Nations resolution using the concept of environmental friendliness as a guise to take away our private property and civil rights and have complete control of the world. There are too many humans for the elite to easily control living in the world today. With the information age brought to us by the internet, people are beginning to wake up. They are afraid too many people will wake up and take back the world with a new system based on humanism and wake up to true spiritualism. We have power in numbers, and could bring about change without having to have a revolution. There would not need to be any bloodshed. There never did. If the public realized what was really going on, they could turn their backs on the system, politicians, secret societies, and the elite to bring completely change the system without having to fight. They fear this could happen unless action is taken, and because of this reason, they seek to depopulate the human population. They have different methods of doing so. They cause wars by creating conflicts among nations through brainwashing, propaganda, and fear with false flags so that we just kill each other off, while they profit off of it. They poison our air and environment with chemtrails, which has more than just the purpose of spreading harmful chemicals in our atmosphere to poison us. The government has been doing this for decades. Before, they would deny the existence of chemtrails. Now they have tried to come up with an excuse for doing so, because too many people are aware of this fact.
There's no question that large-scale climate engineering is untested and dangerous. We've mostly thought about sulfur.
If I could just clarify, so 10 megatons of aluminum dumped into the atmosphere would have no human health impact.
So let me be more careful here. Work to separate out the toxicological, so the aluminum we've only begun to research and publishing now. We haven't done anything serious on aluminum, and so there could be something terrible that we'll find tomorrow. We haven't.
They also feed us poison. 90% of the food Americans buy are GMOs, or genetically modified organisms. Under the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it would be illegal for countries to ban GMOs, and Monsanto, the corporation specializing in chemicals behind GMOs, could sue a nation for doing so. In America, mothers in need who seek help from a nutrition and supplement program known as WIC, or Women, Infant, and Children, only have access to GMO products, which is extremely harmful to her child. The microwave most Americans own will even cause ill health and possibly cancer. The foods meant to be microwaved, which are prepared by the corporations you buy them from, are terrible for your health. Our water supply, even bottled water, is filled with hormones and sodium fluoride, a poison, which is purposefully dumped in our water supply by corporations, who do not dispose of it properly. We are lied to, and told sodium fluoride is beneficial to our teeth. This is far from the truth. It is a poison that has no business being ingested by a human being. Humans are also depopulated with genetically engineered diseases, one example being the AIDS virus, which are created by the CIA. Even the ingredients in vaccinations, that are supposed to benefit our health, do nothing but the opposite of what we are told they are intended to do. We are told survival rates are higher than they were before they were introduced. This is true, but death rates have dropped before the vaccinations were even introduced. They are a scientific fraud, which cause illness and death. The medical industry is also guilty of feeding us poison. One of the main ingredients in antipsychotics is sodium fluoride. The big pharma industry manipulates their data, and hides statistics that would show how harmful their product really is. Their medication does nothing but harm the patient. They even cause the very symptoms they are supposed to be treating. An interesting fact to point out is that all false flag shooters in America are truth seekers, conspiracy theorists who believe they are being mind controlled. Most of them are put under these medications and driven mad through hypnosis, subliminal messaging, harassment, death threats, and all while being on medication, which has side effect of violence. delusions, and paranoia. These men are not delusional, they are paranoid for a reason. The CIA is responsible for using MKUltra techniques on these people to get them to commit an attack. We are never told by the media of the harm pharmaceuticals do. Mainstream news is offered bribes to keep this away from the public. They are paid large sums to air commercials for these poisonous drugs to keep them quiet. Most of these depopulation tools will cause cancer. Even the cancer treatment industry causes cancer. There is a cure for cancer, which is well known to conspiracy theorists or truth seeker, but it's more profitable to slowly kill dying men, women, and children by exposing them to radiation. Many people die just from the chemotherapy they are put through and not the cancer they had developed. The reptilians do not just want to profit off of war or treatment of diseases they cause. They want us to die, but they do not want us to know what happens when we die. Religion tells us the wicked go to hell, and the good go to heaven. Heaven and hell exist, but not the way religion teaches. Heaven describes higher levels of dimensions, and hell describes the lower realms. We are living in the lower realms. If you understand history, you know you cannot trust any so-called holy book. Religion is a tool of the elite to separate humanity and corrupt spirituality. Some like to back up their false beliefs with the phenomenon known as a near-death experiences, where people see a light, loved ones, heaven, God, and Jesus, when they are near death. Scientists like to say it is nothing but a hallucination brought out by the chemical DMT excreted by the brain at the moment of death, or near death, but they are wrong. The fact is, our bodies are nothing but organic machinery. They are containers for our souls, allowing us to live, or be trapped as slaves in this matrix. This matrix we are trapped in is one of many, possibly limitless, dimensions of the universe. When we die, our soul, consciousness or spirit, call it what you will, leaves this dimension and enters another. We never really die. Our souls are pure energy and, according to physics, energy can neither be created, nor destroyed. There is much evidence for reincarnation. There are stories where children claim to have been another person, who has died and can remember specific parts of that individual's lives. One thing to understand is the Earth is not solid, and does not have a molten core, like mainstream science suggests. The Earth is hollow, but not like most people believe. The reason it is important to understand the structure of the Earth is because of the fact that Earth's environment has a magnetic field surrounding it. If there is no molten iron core generating this field, one thing you must ask yourself is, where does it come from? This magnetic field is artificial, created by the reptilians. It keeps souls, our energy, from escaping the environment we are trapped in. It is generated by the reptilians as a soul trap. This field is the net Peggy Kane and others speak of. Our souls are nothing to them but a cheap source of energy to power their slave machine. When you die, you are trapped here. There is no escape. When a person dies, they are still alive, but live in an environment in which reptilians abuse the dead. They torture and feed off of our energy after we die. There is not much higher or interdimensional beings, who we call angels or Pleiadians, can do. As soon as a being descends to this environment, it cannot leave. A soul's memories are erased before they are sent back to Earth to incarnate. The entire planet is a soul trap. According to Peggy Kane, now that people are having more near-death experiences, due to the fact we are able to resuscitate people, the reptilians must work to create a staged heaven in order to deceive a dying person. This is how people see what they think they see in their near-death experiences. I believe the machine used to send souls back to Earth, which Peggy Kane speaks of, is the moon. David Icke tells us it is a hollowed-out planetoid spaceship controlled by the reptilians. I believe, in the dimension our souls enter at death, the moon is used to erase our memories and send a soul back to Earth, which is why most of the population cannot remember a thing of their past lives. There is little a higher being can do for humanity. Once any soul enters this environment, they are trapped with no way out. They are taken and their memories are erased. They will not remember what they came to Earth for.
I found out that the near-death experience was a ruse. that we're in a net, we're in lockdown. This is not about karma and reincarnation. They reincarnate. This interdimensional reptilian race keeps us in a cycle in the game. We don't get out. We're just cycled around and around. If you mess up, usually by their manipulation, and you wind up in the lower astral realm, you are going to be hunted and eaten as food. Now that includes little children who wind up there, sometimes because they die along with parents who, for some reason, look, there are a lot of little children in that world, and those little children are abused. It's just as physical over there as it is here, so this whole spirit, spirit thing didn't pan out. We're not ephemeral wisps of energy floating around cemeteries. And the first time I really got that was when using EVP. I learned it through talking to people on the other side. They told me, and Francis in particular, Francis Haley, told me in particular what life is like over there, which was fine in the beginning because I knew he had been a screw-up, let's just say. And his friends were all messed up too, and I figured, well, okay, they got what they deserved by being in that place. It was not until I learned about the children there that that was a wake-up call for me. He told me that there was a family who were being kicked out of their house. They had no money, and he said if they go to jail, the sadistic jailers will rape the little children. And that was the day that I said, there's another agency here. This is not about God. This is not about karma. There's something wrong. And that really is what got me started.